Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War Speak with the Dead event, in which the Ancestor Brodir is added to the game. So this week we have Community Week, which will be bringing in a bunch of extra loot that we can end up getting from the adventure board over here. We'll likely have like an Imperial Hero with a couple Ds and maybe something nice and shiny at the end. That's kind of what they've been doing for most of these weeks when they end up bringing them around. We also end up getting something today and on this Sunday. So today we end up getting the 2 VIP keys with a little bit of gems, which is pretty nice. We'll have some offers in between. Unfortunately, those will not be free. Apparently, we also have Tribute ready. Yeah, VIP keys, pretty nice. You're able to use them even if you don't have access to VIP keys. They actually got buffed. They haven't actually handed out too many VIP keys since they got a buff. But they actually have a 1.67% chance instead of a 1%. This was changed like a year or two ago, but they haven't actually handed out too many since then. However, nice to be able to get a little bit more. Pretty high chance of getting Mythic from those. Of course, not guaranteed, though. But anyways, we're going to be going over all of the normal stuff as we normally do every single weekly video, starting from the top with the new troop, which for once is not useless. So not only do you get 200 glory cost yellow-purple if you need to stock up, but this troop is very good. It's similar to Sir Gawain. Sir Gawain is a knight that creates blue and brown, if I'm not mistaken, which ends up summoning like 1 to 3 Swords Edge troops. This is very similar. He ends up doing 8 blue and 8 green, and he ends up summoning 1 to 3 Maugrim Woods troops. One thing that kind of makes him stand out a little bit is he actually has a natural half mana start, which is kind of interesting. This is something that Sir Gawain does not have, though it's normally used in a knight context with Sir Quentin Hadley, where it would end up having it. However, it doesn't actually naturally, the other one, have a half mana start, whereas this thing does. So this could find its way into some teams that aren't even related at all to Undead or Maugrim Woods or War Gear. It could still function independently of those and just be used as a pretty okay summoner. So yeah, definitely above average. Not too much above average. Don't think it's going to find its way into too many teams because he's basically just a standard mana generator with a little bit of resummon. But if you really need that resummon, definitely not a bad option. So he has some viability going forward. Probably not going to be used in any of the ultra meta strong teams, but definitely if you're earlier on in the game or just kind of need a summoner, he'll probably find his way in a lot of game modes as a kind of just like a nice way to not die as well. So overall, a pretty solid glory troop for once, which I can't say about most weeks. Anyways, next we have the event key drop table, which is very, well, not really confusing. However, the most noteworthy thing to mention is, of course, the Gemini, this thing, the Mythic from last Friday. This is not in the event key drop table anymore as of today. It is, however, still in the Glory Gem Guild and VIP chest drop table for today, tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday, all the way until Friday at reset time. So basically the end of Thursday. So you still have time to get this troop, 4 days. However, it is not in the event key drop table. Instead, what is in the event key drop table, let's see, I didn't actually set it up yet. But if we go over to Maugrim Woods over here, and here should be every single thing that's in it. Let me actually sort it by base rarity, just so we can see the mythics and everything up there. Oh yeah, this place also, some other things to mention that isn't in the drop table. There are several. Obviously, the most obvious one is the 4 faction troops from Hellgate are not within the drop table. However, there is also more not in the drop table, and that is Hatter Ascendant and Scroll Reborn. Hatter and Scroll is, like, this specific troop. However, the 2 that are with the little red border here, these are only from Soulforge. So you will not be able to get them by any other means. They're Soulforge only, so do be mindful of that, as you will not be able to ever get them from the event key drop table. You simply have to go and Soulforge for them. Aside from that, the overall drop table is pretty underwhelming unless you're really looking to upgrade Maugrim Woods. It's the only reason I'd really say to go for, or maybe to pick up a Mythic. Forest Guardian, I guess, is used occasionally here and there. But for the most part, it's a very average, slightly below average kind of kingdom, without really too many things that are of viability. However, what star does Maugrim Woods reach? Wait, do I have a thing that I didn't do? Oh, another one blocked at level 18. That's unfortunate. This one's also not worth doing. So for example, right here, even if we had the resources, we probably wouldn't want to do this. There are 2 colors that are can end up doing a magic buff. It is purple, which has 4 kingdoms, and then green, which has 1, which is Zolkari. And due to that, you don't ever want to do the level 18 upgrade on any purple or green kingdom. And this is a green kingdom, and for that reason, we actually do not ever want to get that to level 18, or at least not anytime remotely soon. So that is yet another kingdom that can technically reach 27 stars, the second one now. However, you very much should not get it to 27 stars, even if you can. It is very much not worth it. Anyways, on to the next thing. So this week we do have a world event, now that the journey event from last week is now over. As far as the journey event, as far as the world event is concerned this week, it's pretty straightforward. Just don't take Moonsinger, it's just rarity order. One thing to keep in mind is it does have like the 15 bracket thing. So once you're doing the 15th to 30th battle, you have to keep in mind that Forest Guardian is the absolute best room to be taking. For the most part, as long as you're taking rarity order and take the 2 legends, you should be fine. However, the legendary of Forest Guardian is worth a bit more than the legend of the Sybaris. So you might want to be prioritizing that. There likely will not be a situation where you end up losing points based on that. However, basically never take Moonsinger. And once you start seeing the legendaries, try prioritizing Forest Guardian over Sybaris. But beyond that, it's just a rarity order. And of course, once the Mythic room comes in, that's obviously the highest rarity. You go for that as highest priority, and then just work your way down. Basically, once you get past 30 plus battles, as long as you're not taking Moonsinger, you're taking the correct room. And eventually you'll be forced to simply just have to keep taking the same room over and over again. So a pretty straightforward event as far as that is concerned. So pretty nice. Anyways, as far as other things that we have going on this week, this Tuesday we do have the Allocate faction, which is a brown-red restriction. Wednesday we'll be getting a War Gear bonus pet. This is one that already exists, but it's a somewhat newer one, not super new, but newer for a pet. So you can end up getting more copies then. Thursday, we have the Warden hero class, which is generally pretty bad. However, there are a few really niche things you could do, one of which I'm actually going to be showing a team for, as there is actually something really good with Doomed Glaive, which is also in Soulforge this week that it has synergy for. Probably one of the only viable few things that you can end up doing with Warden, and one of the reasons why it's not among one of the worst classes in the game. Maybe not worst, but there's a few really good teams out there. Just very, very few. And this Friday, we have Knight Invasion. That's actually a really easy one. For any of you that know, there's a knight that has the Enrage on Skull, or Enrage on Kill, and basically he just perpetually has Enrage, kind of like Slayer class, but Invasion one-shotting. And he's really, 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 really broken for the Invasion events. Arguably one of the strongest, if not the strongest one in the entire game. And he is usable for this Friday Invasion, so really easy one. Maybe even it's a good time to go for a leaderboard if you want to make a leaderboard. No, I wouldn't really advise it. However, definitely should be a very straightforward, easy Invasion weekend. As far as the Soulforge is concerned, nothing really too noteworthy unless you just want to get up a Mythic for completionist sake. Every Mythic this week is pretty average. As far as super strong things, Queen Titania's decent. I wouldn't go out of your way for 800 diamonds. I mentioned Tesla the other week as a really insanely good early game pickup, and hopefully you end up getting Tesla last week. However, Queen Titania, while she is good and pretty decent damage, especially early on in the game, if you already got Tesla, you don't really need Queen Titania. You can just use Tesla instead, so probably really low priority to craft anything this week, though maybe worth considering if you really, really want to, but if you picked up Tesla, you probably don't need it. Anyways, as far as weapons, there's one extremely noteworthy thing, and that is Doomed Glaive, and probably the only thing in the entirety of Soulforge I would say is super worth getting this week. Doomed Glaive is arguably probably one of the strongest of the 6 Doom weapons that have the full AoE damage into convert. Not only does it have a Storm into itself with Green Storm, it has Entangle in the first, which is good because all these weapons are creating skulls, and while they're still going to get some damage back, it's going to be a lot less if they're entangled compared to not entangled. And it gets to deny brown, which is a interesting color to end up doing because of Truffle. So basically you can get a lot of mana, Truffle, you know, constantly feeding green, and while it might seem a little bit weird to like double block it with, you know, like double Truffle or something, you do end up getting a lot of excess green when you're infinite looping Truffle, and this basically allows the team to win a little bit quicker, because one problem that Doomed Club has, Doomed Club is the inverse of this, where it is a brown that converts out green. The problem with converting out green is it doesn't actually need brown for mana accumulation, you know, Truffle that is, a green-blue troop, so it doesn't actually need the brown for mana accumulation. So when you're denying the brown, or when you're using a brown weapon denying the green, it's going to fill easier, but you're denying a color that you need. This is going to feel a little bit harder. However, you're denying something on a team that you don't need, which is brown. Brown, you're just going to clear it right out. You'll have all the green still on the board, and you basically just get to go right back to Truffle looping. And I would say it's probably the strongest of the 6 doomed weapon. It's definitely a must-get. This whole category of weapon, regardless of which one it is a must-get, but it's one of my personal favorite of the 6 full AoE Doom Skull ones, so highly, highly advise getting it. Aside from that, I do show a team with the Wolfhammer for the cheaper team. It's okay, you're not really going to use it much outside of this week, however, it's one of those like double gem creating ones. Every single one of them is at least average. These are also very, very average. I guess Hope's Crescent is maybe worth mentioning, though not really that good. Compared to other armor tier weapons, it's pretty underwhelming. It eliminates all armor from an enemy and then deals some damage to them, and if their life is greater, it'll do triple. The biggest issue with this is generally that triple damage is not enough to one-shot. If it always was, then this would be worth it. However, there are a lot of situations where it doesn't, and if you're in the, when you're in a sweet spot when it's working, it's okay. But once you finally leave that spot where it's one-shotting, it basically becomes a completely useless weapon that you wouldn't be using, and you very quickly in a lot of game modes end up leaving the area where it will be able to one-shot, basically making it a relatively pointless option and very inferior compared to other armor tier related weapons out there, like Mang, Trickster Shot that we were using last week, as well as almost every other one. But anyways, long story short, get Doomed Glaive. Anyways, so other things to end up mentioning. I feel like I'm forgetting something. But anyways, let's go on to the troops here, or teams here, I mean. Of course, all of which will be in the comment section below if you want to go and copy-paste any of them. The first one that we have here is the Ward event team. This one ends up going off of AoE. We have extra spell damage for the event, so you can end up centering around there. I used the Doomed Glaive here. However, you can center a team just off of Judge the Dead. Even for the cheaper option, you might want to end up doing that, because you can end up getting this pretty cheap by throwing Chaos Shards at the Hellgate faction in the Underworld. So you can end up getting it that way. It's basically just a solid AoE option. It's sometimes used in soul farm teams too, because you can get a lot of extra damage from it. It has boost ratio based on how many souls you have. However, in this context, we're mostly just using it for its damage. Doomed Glaive here for its damage. Moonsinger here to kind of get the whole team rolling. You'll be denying a color that you end up needing. However, you're going to be clearing out enough the board that it should be fine once you end up getting the cast down. You're basically good at full board clear and then have a new board after, and hopefully be able to get the mana you need and kind of keep it going. Next is the lower ward event. This one's centered quite a bit off of Cockatrice. I also ended up switching out this for... or I was going to go Spirit Fox here and end up switching out for the newer troop, who ends up creating a bunch of blue and green. This is going to be a little bit of a slower option, but he's really good at making sure you don't lose. So if you're lacking survivability earlier on in the game, two ways that can help with that is a Barrier Brown hero class. In this case, we're using Titan. You could end up using something even tankier like Elementalist if you want. However, in this particular situation, we use Titan. And we're also using this to tank more. It has a bunch of resummon, does a bunch of mana accumulation. This will make your team a little bit slower, however, it'll make its survivability higher. Cockatrice here is mostly just deny out the mana, especially since this one doesn't use Spirit Fox, so we're going to need some kind of way to disable them. This has both Entangle and Mana Drain. You can also Tangle off of Elemental, so if you want to go down that route. And Druid here is kind of just here to pressure damage, combined with the Wolf Hammer. Wolf Hammer definitely not required. However, you're going to need some kind of weapon to kind of keep the mana going, and if you're not going for more of a all-in Doomed Glaive weapon, you might need something a little bit safer like that. Anyways, as far as the faction is a brown-red restriction for the Hellgate, so you can end up running a pretty standard Guards Avatar team. For the lower fights, once you start getting a little bit deeper, you can kind of do like a little bit of a weird version of Hiking Iron Gadzugoth, as they are still usable, but their mana accumulators, you kind of have to use alternative methods like a Marilith here, which still works out pretty well. It just takes a little bit longer to get going. But once it does, it's really strong. As far as the actual troops itself, you can run either 3 to Judge the Dead with the mana accumulator, or simply go 4 Judge the Dead. Really depends on how you want to run it. Basically, as we saw earlier, Judge the Dead just does a bunch of damage to all enemies, boosts based on how many souls you have. This not only increases your max amount of souls, but also does a bunch of mana accumulation and gives you some souls, which of course synergizes pretty well with Judge the Dead. If you really want to, assuming you're running with potions and everything, you can go away with 4 Judge the Dead. You'll probably lose one of them, however, you'll probably be going into the final fight with 3 Judge the Dead regardless of how you look at it, because this team doesn't really have, and the faction in general doesn't really have any too good of a way to tank. So most fights are just going to be you going into 3 Judge the Dead on the final fight anyway, so your first slot really just depends where you want to go, either the Cheranas or the 4th Judge the Dead, depending on how you want to run it. Anyways, as far as the Warden class event this Thursday, you're going to be restricted specifically to beasts from Maugrim Woods. For whatever reason, it is a beast hero class, not a war gear one, so you're restricted to beasts. For this, you can just spam Spirit Fox with a standard weapon, either Black Manacle or, in this case, Dawnbringer. Next, we have the Weakened Invasion. This was that super strong enraged thing I was talking about earlier. So basically what happens here is you become enraged when an enemy dies. Basically, he goes and one-shots something. He gains enrage. He now one-shots everything else. Boom, you win. If they end up getting barrier, boom, you dispel it with Knight Hero class, because it's one of the few things it can do well. So you can dispel it to get rid of enchant, to get rid of barrier, mostly barrier. Surcoin Hadley's just a 50% mana start because you're going to be Knight restricted, so going to be very useful. He also has Skull Spam, which works really good, so you can get even more skulls. And Keen Sword is just this Knight-related version of mana accumulating for 2 different colors. And you just do that to go feed heavily into blue-red, which is the main way that you kill the invasion towers. And yeah, Sor Mordain, among one of the strongest, if not the strongest, invasion troops in the entire game, mostly due to the capability of constantly enraging, allowing it to not only hit through that one really high score reduction one, that brown-blue one in invasions, but also just kill through absolutely apparently everything pretty much in one shot. Not always, it eventually stops one-shotting, but it goes quite a while being able to one-shot, that is for sure. And lastly, this is a pretty fun team. Should I go show it here? Might as well. I don't think he's running a freeze, because this team can be a little bit bad with freeze. However, we'll show with this. So this is actually among one of my favorite teams in the game. I don't personally use it that much in the current state of the game, but this is Infinite Truffle. And when I say infinite, I mean like truly infinite. Like unless we really mess up, once it gets rolling, it just never stops. Do we go for it here? We'll try for it. Of course we'd miss. That's why I wanted to wait. I saw on that board, it's like, nope, it's not going to be ready yet. Biggest issue is getting it rolling. Once it gets rolling, we are good to go. Problem is getting it there. Alright, we got Curse. That actually, I believe, does pretty much nothing to us. The only problem there is we did not get full mana, and him being disabled on everything does mean we will not be able to show it. Oh, well, fine. We'll go restart real quick. Gonna run Essence of Evil on us. Alright, we'll try it against, oh gosh, Elementals. Let's hope we don't get frozen before we get rolling then. This is one of the reasons I don't use it anymore, by the way. It takes too long to get rolling. Oh, we're already frozen. Never mind. You're just running Flash Freeze. Come on, give us something. Something that doesn't have freeze. Can anyone not run freeze? Here we go. We're up against an infinite loop. There we go. Infinite loop versus infinite loop. Those arts gets running a little bit slower. Obviously, the goblin ones are pretty nice as well. Technically, this is partially a goblin one. Okay, so right off the bat, he's going to explode green, so we kind of want to deny green, start getting that rolling. This should leave us with an okay board. As long as he doesn't get looping immediately, we should be okay. Ideally, we want to take an extra turn just to get all of our mana going, and I think we have it. We'll know as soon as we cast this double. Actually, let me go for this real quick. I want to have a more favorable green board before I go cast this, and I believe we now have the infinite loop set up. So we can just keep doing this, get our double right here, and basically it just never stops. You have Doomed Glaive to do the pickoffs here, so we can end up going for that, getting our extra turn from there. As I said earlier, you deny brown, which you don't end up needing. You need the green, so it just keeps looping the green back into itself. And if you could survive for longer than a few seconds, it could keep going forever. But yeah, it's a pretty decent team. Main reason I don't normally use it too much in the current state of the game is compared to Double Empower, Leprechaun, stuff like that, it's a bit slow to get rolling. I would say it's more so like a high-level invasion kind of thing for relevant restricted factions. I guess technically it could be... Oh, no, it couldn't be. I was thinking, wait, actually it could be. Tower of Doom? Wait, is Tower of Doom? No, Tower of Doom does not restrict your weapon, so technically blue Tower of Doom can end up running this, and a few other kind of situations. But yeah, it's one of the few instances where Warden Doomed Glaive is pretty solid, but yeah, Doomed Glaive, highly, if you're gonna get anything this week, Doomed Glaive is definitely among one of the higher priorities. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna need to call it here. I've been a little bit sick, probably just gonna take a nap as soon as I, well, actually more so sleep, as soon as I get this video up, but hopefully I'll be better soon. I got really sick going last Saturday. My mom ended up getting sick on her birthday, and then I ended up getting sick by the time Mother's Day rolled around. So now we haven't really been able to properly celebrate either, because either she was sick or I was sick. So hopefully it'll clear soon. Luckily she got better. But anyways, guys, hope you all had a wonderful Mother's Day yesterday if you celebrated. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave in the comment section below. All teams I mentioned in this video are also in the comment section below, and of course we'll be doing all the faction tasks, or sorry, all the kingdom tasks, or I will say it eventually, all of the campaign tasks tonight at the same time as always here on the channel, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and going from there. Anyways, guys, hope you all have a wonderful week. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you guys soon. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for watching.